And what I'd like to share with you today are some of the things that you can consider when it comes to influencing those around you, to taking control of creating a strong personal brand. I'd like to share 3 things with you today and what you can do to build on that. So number 1 is consider your brand identity. And what I mean by your brand identity is giving thought to who you are, so your values, your beliefs, what you stand for, and what you want to be known for. And then once you get clear on that, then you want to consider, well, who do I need to become to show up as that person? And this is not about being inauthentic. It's about showing up as the best version of you. So how can you better yourself? How can you improve the way that you come across to others in the different aspects of personal branding? And I'll share that with you in a moment. So when we think about this, I'd like you to actually take the time to write this down. So maybe spend some time later on today or this evening and write down a few sentences and phrases that describe how you would like to be perceived by other people. What do you want to be known for? And then when you've written that down, take a look at that and think, okay, so who do I need to be or who do I need to become to show up in that way? So for example, if you want to be seen by others to have that credibility, that authority, that certainty in your field, well, perhaps what you need to, or who you need to become, is someone who is extremely confident in themselves, someone who has that certainty in themselves. Let me know if this makes sense and if this is resonating with you. So I will invite you to really take some time out after this session to go away and actually write some of this down for yourself, because it's the power of writing things out that can make such a difference, rather than maybe just thinking about it or typing it down. There's a different feeling that we get when we actually take the time to write. So write down what you want to be known for. Think of the words, the phrases that you'd like to hear when people talk about you. In fact, if you're really struggling with this, you might want to reach out to a few people. And I've shared this before on a previous show. I've suggested reaching out to people who are in your network, people that you've worked with at different levels. So it could be managers, it could be your peer group, somebody in your team, or someone who reports to you. But people that you trust, and ask them to share with you the first 3 words or phrases that come to mind when they hear your name mentioned. And then look at that feedback and ask yourself, is this something I'm happy with? And I'm not saying that you'll get negative feedback, but what I am saying is that you might be surprised, because oftentimes we feel that we come across a certain way, but actually that perception is not necessarily the same for other people. So are you happy with the feedback? Are you happy with how you are coming across? Or are there certain aspects of that that you would like people to see within you, that they would want to associate with you? And if that's the case, well, then we want to look at what is the gap that you need to close to be able to influence that perception that people have of you, to create a shift in how they see you. Does this make sense? Let me know. James, hello there. How are you doing? Thank you for joining me here today. Let me know where you're watching from. And for all of you who are here today, whether it's on live or the replay, do let me know if this is making sense, if this is helpful for you. So take the time to reach out to people, get that feedback, elicit feedback from people, and then be honest with yourself and think, is this good enough? Or is there something more that I want other people to see within me, see me for, like my strengths, what I'm good at, what I want to be known for? And once you've gotten really clear on that, first of all, you want to find any gaps and think about, what do I need to do to close that gap? So if, for example, confidence doesn't come up in any of that feedback, but yet you want to be seen as that authority, that person who's really credible and knows their topic, their area of expertise, well, what do you need to do differently so that the next time you reach out to people, maybe in say 3 months' time, that confidence is one of the words that comes up for you? So then think about that. Is that the way that you're showing up? Maybe it's the way that you communicate, the way that you speak, the language that you use. What is it? And if you remember, I said today is all about self-awareness. So the reason I'm inviting you to write this down is because I want you to take the time to really start to become self-aware. And hi, Pinky, how you doing? Great to have you here today. Thanks for joining. And so let me know if this makes sense. And once you get clear on the gaps and look at, okay, what do I need to do differently? How can I show up an even better way that will have people recognizing, in this example, that I'm confident, that I have the certainty in myself? Then you want to think about, well, who do I need to become to show up in that way? And then think about your behaviors, the way that you respond in situations, the thoughts that you have. How are those influencing the way that you're showing up right now that maybe to the detriment impacts your confidence in an adverse way? So maybe you're having self-doubt in certain situations. So for example, yesterday I spoke with someone who was saying to me they're very confident, they know their stuff, but when they're in a one-to-one situation, they're fine. But when they're in a group scenario, that's where the self-doubt starts to arise. And they feel that maybe people around them have a lot more knowledge, maybe more confidence than them, and then they start to question themselves. So what is it that you can do to have more certainty in yourself? And if that's something that resonates with you, this is what I recommended to this individual yesterday, is to take the focus off of you and onto the outcome you want from that meeting, that conversation, that presentation. Because by taking the focus off of us, we're looking at the outcomes. We're taking the anxiety, the self-doubt, the lack of confidence often comes from us, the self-talk that we have, that we create within our own mind, that start to challenge us, to question us and question our ability and what we're doing. And also it's around I use presentation, public speaking, which I think I talked about last week, is when we're focusing on ourselves, we're judging ourselves, we're looking at all the things that could possibly go wrong. And this is the case in any situation. So if we take the focus away from all those negative things and we focus on the positives of, okay, why am I here? Why am I doing this? What's the message that I want to get across? Am I looking to educate people, to inspire people, to establish my credibility so that people will come towards me? And focusing on them and giving them the best experience and the best outcome, so they go away with the knowledge, let's say, that you want them to have, so that they know in future they can reach out to you for help. So if that's your scenario, that focus on that, because it's not about who knows more than you. People have different pockets of information and knowledge, and people are there for a reason. So if it's a case of speaking in front of a group versus speaking one-to-one, creates some self-doubt for you or knocks your confidence, look to take that focus away from you and onto the other people and to the outcome that you want for them, because that will dissipate that feeling that you've got of anxiety, of nervousness, of the negative thoughts that start to come up in your mind. Pinky, I like it. Thank you, Pinky. Oh, and a little heart there. Thank you so much. Great to have you here today. And I know we're due a catch up very soon, aren't we? Lisa, hello there. How are you doing? Long time no speak. Great to have you here today. Thank you for joining. So let me know if this resonates. When we talk about our brand identity, the way that we show up, what we want to be known for, those are the steps I'd recommend you do, is to reach out to other people if you're stuck in terms of knowing what you want to be known for, and get some feedback on that first of all. When you've got that feedback, take a look at it and ask yourself, am I happy with this, or is there more that I want to be hearing from people? Is there something glaringly obvious that's missing in that feedback? And then ask yourself, well, what do I need to do? Because we have that control, we have that ability to be able to influence the way other people see us just by virtue of how we show up. And I'm using the example here of confidence because I know it's a very common aspect of what people struggle with in different situations. So think about that, and then think about, who do I need to become to be more confident? And maybe for you, it is about where your thoughts are focused on. Maybe because oftentimes you beat yourself up or you tell yourself you're not good enough, which means it's your thoughts, it's that self-talk, that inner dialogue. So what can you do differently now to create a shift for yourself to have more confidence when you're showing up? And again, I'd recommend, here there's lots of writing I'm going to be talking about, is to write things down. So for me, one of the things that is very effective is to take time to reflect on your wins, however big or small they are. Take the time to reflect on those, because oftentimes we focus on the things that go wrong, or where we get the negative feedback, or things aren't going so well for us. And that's natural behavior. We tend to go, we kind of gravitate towards the negative things that are going on for us. And then we often miss all the good stuff, the things that have been great wins for us, however big or small they've been. So by writing them down, it reinforces it for you. It's almost like keep a journal or a diary of all of those wins as you're progressing through your week, your month, and take time to go back occasionally and reflect on it. And also, if you are having those days when you're experiencing self-doubt, or you're questioning yourself and what you're doing and why you're doing it, go back to that list of wins and just remind yourself of how good you are, of how far you've come and what you have accomplished. And you might be thinking, who am I to sit here and talk about it? Believe me, I go through this from time to time, and I have to go back and look at, why am I doing what I'm doing? Where has this taken me? How far have I come? And those are the things that remind me that actually I am heading in the right direction and I am good. And often you're going to get people from time to time who maybe don't agree with you, who you don't resonate with, who maybe just have a different point of view of that topic, or the world view on something. That's okay. But by staying in your own truth and about recognizing where you're coming from, as long as you're coming from a place of good intention and a place of wanting to give value, to be of service to others, then that's okay. Not everyone's going to like it or is going to agree with you. So those are the kind of things that can potentially knock your confidence, your question yourself, and have you experiencing self-doubt. And that's when you want to check in with yourself. So keeping a journal of your wins day to day, maybe at the end of the day, just take the time to write down small things. It could just be that you reached out and caught up with an old colleague that you've not spoken to for months. Or perhaps you reached out to a complete stranger on LinkedIn to connect with them for, maybe they're in an organization that you're interviewing for, that you're thinking about joining, and you want to know more about the company. Whatever it is, they're all little wins for you. So take a note of those. I see some comments coming in, so let me just have a look. Hazel, hi Hazel, how are you doing? Yes, it certainly resonates. Great to hear that. Thank you. Pinky, really resonates. I'm great in groups and lack confidence one-to-one. That's interesting. I hadn't considered asking others how they see me. Maybe I'm scared of the answer. No, ask me, Pinky, and I'll tell you, and I'll be very, very honest with you, and you'll love it. And that's interesting to hear that, because I'm the person who historically, and even occasionally today, I will lack more confidence in a group environment than on a one-to-one. I'm very confident in a one-to-one situation. So again, it's about asking yourself what's going on for you there that has you lacking that confidence. And for me, I'll be honest, I'll say, for example, when I was in the workplace, when I was lacking confidence, it would be because I'm worried about being judged by other people, about saying the wrong thing, about what people are going to think about me, if they're going to laugh at me if I say something that's maybe others perceive to be silly. So it's all of that inner talk. It's that self-judgment, as well as worrying about the judgment of others. So that's how it was for me. So what is it for you, Pinky? What do you think it is that has you lacking the confidence in one-to-one scenarios? I'd be interested to hear that. And yeah, it's great. I really am a strong advocate of asking for feedback in all situations, whether it's delivering a presentation, whether it is a piece of work, whether it's on your day-to-day activity in the workplace, whatever that might be. Regularly reach out to gain feedback, because it's a great way of learning, and we all know this, right? Feedback is the best learning, and it helps us to improve, and we can refine what we're doing, whether it's the way that we're showing up, the way that we're presenting and communicating, whether it's the work that we're doing. How can we get better? And I always used to reach out for feedback when I was in my career, because I wanted to be the best. I wanted to get better at what I was doing. So even if it hurt because it was a criticism, it helped me to learn what I could do differently, what I could do better. And this comes back to what I'm saying today about showing up as the best version of you. Let me know if this resonates, if this is making sense for you, and also if it is helpful. Pinky, Hazel, yeah, great to see you both here today. Hazel, hi Pinky. Funny, I'm the opposite. Exactly. I like me, Hazel. I have confidence in one-to-one, but in a group, I convince myself that everyone there knows more than me. Imposter syndrome lives. And I've just touched on that. So exactly that is that, yes, we can feel that other people know more than us. There's always going to be people who know other pockets of information that we don't know. And that's how we get to learn, by listening to other people. In the same way that people will listen to you and people want to hear what you have to say. And even if they've heard it before, sometimes you can hear something 2 or 3 times, and the third or the fourth time, it lands differently with you. You hear something that maybe you've not heard before. Think about a movie. If you watched a movie the second time or the third time and you suddenly think, I missed that. I didn't see that bit or what that person said. I completely missed that the first time round. And it's the same with information or someone sharing their knowledge. Is that, ask yourself this, because this is self-talk where we convince ourselves that people know more than us and therefore maybe they don't want to listen to us. They're not interested. Ask yourself that. Are you that person? Do you ever do that? Because I'm guessing the answer more often than not is no. But when you go to join a meeting or a presentation or to watch someone speaking, you don't go in with the attitude that, oh, I know so much and they're not going to have anything to add to my world or to my day. But you just want to hear what someone has to say, and you'll take away the new nuggets. There'll be things that you might have come across before. There might be aspects that you've heard before, but actually it just lands differently. And I've had that often for myself. It's just sometimes you're in a different space and you hear the same thing again, and it lands differently from you. You have a different takeaway from it. So put yourself in the situation. Is that something you do? And you'll realize, well, actually, most people don't do that. They go to listen because they want to learn. They want to hear what you have to say. Even if it's a subject matter they know or they've heard before, you might have a different perspective. Again, this is all coming from our self-talk and our judgment of ourselves. So it's time to let that go. And I said I'd mention 3 points. So we've looked at that aspect of brand identity, and a part of that, which is what do you want to be known for and who do you need to become? So thinking about who do you need to become to be able to show up more confidently, which is letting go of this internal dialogue, the self-doubt, recognizing what's creating that, and ask yourself, well, how can I create a different feeling for myself? How can I let go of that emotion? Is it really true, or is it actually a little bit irrational? So those are the questions to ask yourself. Pinky, I feel exposed in one-to-one, need to ponder it more. Got to shoot off to a meeting now. Thanks, you're fabulous. Love that movie analogy. I'll see you soon, Pinky. So the second point I want to talk about is mindset. And I've kind of just touched on that a little bit already around confidence. So it's about the inner dialogue that we have going on. And remember, I'm talking today about self-awareness and about how we can show up as our best self. So we've looked at brand identity. Now I'm looking at mindset. So what I invite you to do here is to start checking in with yourself on a daily basis, again, at the end of the day, of the thoughts that you had throughout the day in any particular situation or scenario. And did that serve you? Did that hold you back? Did that have you questioning yourself, creating self-doubt? Or were you showing up with absolute certainty, confidence in what you were doing and how you were coming across to other people? In other words, by starting to reflect on that, you start to see patterns of behavior in yourself in terms of your thought processes, in terms of that self-talk. And this can be about yourself more often than not. It can also be about other people around you, people that you're interacting with. It could be about your environment or situations that you have to deal with. So give some thought to that and start to, on a regular basis, I'd invite you to do it daily so you don't forget, at the end of the day, again, maybe grab a journal to write this down and think about, okay, maybe you're in a team meeting. So what was going on for me in that team meeting? How was I feeling? Maybe you had to speak up and say something or present something. What was going on for you at that point in time? And be honest with yourself, because this is only for you. You don't need to share this with anyone, but it helps you to start to realize those patterns that you have going on that might be holding you back, that might be stopping you from showing up as the best version of you. And a huge part of that is around the thoughts that we have. And if you were here last week, you'll remember I spoke about how our thoughts directly influence our behaviors and our actions, and then ultimately our outcomes. So if we're having thoughts about maybe not being good enough or smart enough, and that everyone else in the room is smarter than us, and or we don't know enough, then that's going to create that self-doubt, that uncertainty in ourselves. And that's naturally going to influence our behavior and the way that we're coming across. People will pick it up. They'll pick up that you're lacking certainty in yourself, which means that people might likely respond differently towards you, which means you'll have a different result. You'll have a different outcome. So for example, if you're in an organization and you are somebody who is an authority in a particular aspect of the business, let's say it's tax or it's legal, and people come to you for advice. If you're on a call in a meeting and you're sharing some information, some knowledge with people, and you're coming from a place of uncertainty, of lacking confidence, people will pick that up, even if it's subconsciously, which means that they won't necessarily have the faith in you to come and ask your advice. And if you're seen as the expert in your space, or that's what you want to be seen as, or the subject matter expert, you want to be seen to having that confidence in your area of expertise, in that knowledge. So the importance here is to really start checking in to see, okay, what is causing me to have that uncertainty when I'm sharing information, that knowledge? Write it down, because often it's irrational self-talk. And as I've mentioned previously, the way that we speak to ourselves often is not the way we would speak to a young child. Think about how you speak to a child, how you encourage them. You want them to explore, to try new possibilities, to challenge themselves. Even with looking at just getting them to learn to walk, we want them to keep getting up and trying again. But oftentimes we put ourselves down and we give up very quickly. So start to become aware, because today's all about self-awareness, to start to really develop that. Because the more you develop a heightened sense of self-awareness, the more in control you are of your situations, your responses to situations and scenarios and to people, which gives you a better outcome and gives other people a better experience of you. Let me know if this makes sense. Let me know if it resonates with you. And then the third thing I'd like to look at today, so we've looked at brand identity in terms of what you want to be known for and who you need to become to get there. And now we've talked about mindset and the self-talk about ourselves, about our environment, our situation, or about other people. Is that in a dialogue? Is that serving you, or is that holding you back? Are you putting yourself down, or are you encouraging yourself? So these are things to consider. And then the third thing is presence. So the way that you show up, the impact that you make both on and offline. When I talk about online, I'm talking about in this situation where you may be on camera, on Teams or on Zoom in a meeting. And remembering that people form an impression often of you before you even utter the word. So thinking about your presence, what can you do differently here to have you showing up as your best self? Again, ask for feedback. Maybe ask for feedback from people that you work with who are in meetings with you from time to time, and ask them to share with you how you're coming across, or what if there's somebody who you see who comes across really well, start to look at what they do and how they do it and start to model them. In NLP, we call it modeling excellence. So if you see someone who's really good at something, you start to observe them. You can even ask them what they do or how they go about something. If you look at them and think, wow, I love the way they do that, or I love the way that they show up on a meeting or at a meeting, and they can hold the room, the attention of the room, and they have that presence. So maybe if you can reach out and speak to them, understand what it is they're doing, understand the thought process that they go through. If you can't speak to them, just observe. There's a lady that I interviewed yesterday for my podcast, which I think that episode will be out in the next couple of weeks. An amazing story that she has. And she's now working in the UK. She's come from post-Soviet Russia. And, she talked about how from a young age, she started thinking about her education and her career, and she was starting to learn English. And every night she would speak. She would record herself. She would talk, and she would record herself, and she'd listen back, and she'd listen to people who were English speakers and learn to speak the way that they did. So she could even change her accent slightly. So now she said to me yesterday is that her Russian has an English accent rather than her English having a Russian accent. And it's about self-mastery. It's about identifying where the gaps are for you and what you can do to improve. And for her, that's one aspect of what she did. And I love that. She modeled other people. When she then arrived in the UK, she started to look at how people behaved to develop her soft skills and the things that her peer group did, so she could learn to fit in and become a part of the team. So think about when it comes to your present. First of all, I'd say the fact that we're now all on camera a lot of the time, it's a great opportunity. You might be thinking, not really. But actually it is, because you get to see yourself on camera. And even though it may not be a great experience for you because you don't like to see yourself on camera, think about it from a positive point of view. What can you take away from that? What is it you're seeing that you're not liking? How are you coming across that you think, I could do better? I want to come across differently. So almost a bit of self-analysis and self-reflection, and think, okay, what do I now need to do so I can come across, for example, like that person who's always on the call and comes across really confidently, eloquently. As I said, they hold the room, they hold everyone's attention, and people want to listen to them. So observe, learn from them, model their behavior, or reach out and have a conversation with them. And again, this is about developing your awareness of yourself. And you get to see yourself on camera so much more now. So it's a great opportunity to do this work. So let me know if this is making sense, if it is resonating with you, if you have any questions. Hazel, that is so true. Self-doubt does come through no matter how you try to hide it. Exactly. Thank you, Hazel. And that is why it's really important to understand where that self-doubt is coming from so you can address it, you can let it go, and you can show up with that certainty in yourself. Because oftentimes these thoughts, these negative thoughts of ourselves are irrational thoughts. So start to look at how you can actually rationalize them and turn them around so that they serve you. And as I said, today's about building up your self-awareness. So I've given you 3 aspects that you can look at, and I want you to look at reflecting on them day to day. So we looked at brand identity in terms of what you want to be known for. Is that how people are perceiving you right now? If it isn't, what are the gaps? What can you do differently? And let me just say here that none of this that I'm advocating today is comfortable. It might be quite unpleasant for you, might be feeling like criticism of judgment, but actually it's about how you choose to take that feedback. And it's how you choose to recognize what you're seeing and what you can do differently. So as I said, I've always looked at eliciting feedback through my career because I wanted to do better. I wanted to get better and be the best at what I was doing. And the only way to do that is to understand how are you coming across, whether it's showing up or whether it's the work that I was doing. So whichever aspect is important for you, you want to be always looking to get regular feedback from people. So think about building up your self-awareness. That is the fundamental part, the foundational part of building a really strong personal brand, is understanding how you are coming across to others, how people perceive you, what those gaps are, and what you need to do to close them, and who you need to become to show up in the best possible way for you. So writing down what you'd like to be known for, and then actually starting to visualize that and think to yourself, okay, so who do I need to become to be that person? Maybe I need to look at my integrity, being a person of my word, trustworthy, confident, eloquent in my dialogue, in the way that I converse with people, more engaging, showing more of a genuine interest in people when I'm talking to them. All of these different things. Who is it you need to become to be that person that you want to be seen as in the world? And then that brings in your mindset. So a big part of that is your confidence and the inner self-talk, the dialogue that we have that holds us back. So start to become aware of how you're talking to yourself and write it down. Because the more you write it down and you become aware of what you're doing, the more that you can then catch yourself in the future from actually doing that, and you can turn it around to a positive thought. And then finally, we look at presence. So how you're showing up online or in person, to meetings, whether it's one-to-one, one-to-many. What are you doing in that space, and how can you be even better? And if you're struggling with that, again, ask for feedback from some of maybe your colleagues or your manager, people who you trust, who you know will give you honest feedback. And also look to model other people. So there are going to be people maybe in your workplace that you look at, you think, oh, they're always so confident, they have such a strong presence, they know how to hold a room, whatever it might be, and start to observe them. Look at how are they doing that? So how could I emulate that? How can I model what they're doing? So that's my invitation for today, is to work on the aspect of your personal brand, which is building up that self-awareness. Let me know if you have any questions, if this resonates with you, and also share with me what you're going to take away from this today. What actions are you going to take to start to really develop on your own self-awareness? And I'm not seeing any more comments coming through. I'll give you a couple of minutes. Just grab a sip of my tea because I'm very thirsty. It's talking is hard. It's thirsty work. So yeah, let me know if this has been helpful for you. If you're watching on replay, then do feel free to ask me any questions, share your comments, share your takeaways, and I will check back in with you. And if you'd rather have a private conversation with me, then do feel free to DM me and we can hop on a call and have a chat. Okay, so until next time, I would like to say to you, remember to build your influence, make an impact, and be remembered for all of the right reasons by showing up as the best version of you. And I'd love for you to share with me, whether it's on here or it's in a private message. Let me know what you've taken away from today and how you're getting on with working on that. And if you have any questions, just do reach out. I look forward to seeing you same time, same place next week. Take care and enjoy the rest of your week.